Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're so glad to welcome you as part of our community tonight. Please note that this webinar is being recorded and distributed live stream. By entering this virtual meeting room, you give your consent to be recorded and distributed by Vietnam Live with Simeon Morrow and other third parties. If you wish to not be recorded, please go to the LinkedIn Live video feed, link to which I've just placed in the chat room. Tonight, our featured guest is sexologist and relationship expert Dr. Sara Nasserzadeh, whose new book, Love by Design: 6 Ingredients to Build a Lifetime of Love, will be the subject of tonight's conversation. Dr. Sara, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me. Hello, beautiful ones.
Dr. Sara, so you had originally had trouble deciding to get married because you were worried it would end in divorce. You believed that you'd understood that love is the principal ingredient and that everything else follows when love is there. Then suddenly you were married and you were in the car with a friend and you started to have a nervous breakdown. Tell us what happens next.
Okay, that's a really good summary of many, many years of my life. So, growing up, I was told that love is a watermelon and marriages are like watermelon. You don't know what you're getting until you're in, opening it up. And that was a scary image because I thought, what if I got a rotten one? Then what? I'm stuck with it for life? That's not good enough for me. And then I read that statistic that talked about 50% of marriages end up in divorce. And I thought, no, 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 not happening. This is too many things that are left to chances. And then as I was reading different literature, talking to different people, it really felt like nobody knew what they were doing. They were leaving it to faith, to lots of sacrifices, or good for people who are at least religious enough to think that, no matter what comes my way, I just deal with it. I wasn't one of those people. I really wanted to make this thing work for me in this lifetime. So that was on a selfish ground. And then, so I decided not to get married because I figured if 50% of a chance that I get a rotten one, and then it will end up in splitting up anyway. So what's the big deal? Why the hassle? And then I met my husband and I figured, yeah, maybe I could make this work. So I really wanted to make it work. So we were everything that your traditional textbook tells you. Finish each other's sentences. And, when he walked into the room or I walked into the room, we looked at each other. We finished the whole paragraph just by looking at each other, all of that. But over a period of years, a few years actually down the line, I was in the car with a few friends of mine and I had a panic attack. And then that I didn't even know that was a panic attack because I'm such a bubbly person. Why me? What is happening? So, denial all over, right? So I went to a psychologist and I said, look, here's how I felt. I felt like, I couldn't breathe. And then they said, oh, yeah, let's look at your close relationships and starting with your marriage. I said, how dare you? My marriage is perfect. If somebody has it all, I am it. And you're not touching him. He is perfect. Our marriage is perfect. Everything is perfect. Little did I know that we were so enmeshed in one another that there was nothing left of me. So that was another wave of awareness. And mind you, at the time I was studying to become a couples counselor, relationship therapist, and sexologist. So I was in that route. So then I thought, no, I need to really figure this out. What if one day I'll also have a child? Forget about me. And then, how about my child? Am I going to leave this world? And love is the most important element that all of us chase. Every morning we wake up with the hope to be seen, to be loved, to love somebody. And that is the most important thing. So that would be my legacy, to live in this world. But it took me only 20 something years to kind of figure it out. So I embarked on this research as I was doing the clinical work, and as a social psychologist, I want to see everything human related as a larger scale. So as I'm sitting day in, day out with people who are heartbroken, and I'm going through my own journey, and people close to me, people far away from me, and I worked across 41 countries. I heard the same themes emerging. I heard the same concerns that love comes first, the rest will follow. At the end of the day, I learned that actually you have to tip it over. There are certain elements that need to be present for love to even have a chance to emerge. So that's why the concept of emergent love model. If you think of it this way, that we have a spark and log, they come together in a conducive context, they will give you a warm, cozy fire. If you take any of the elements away, the fire will die away. There's no negotiation. The fire will die away. So I wanted to figure out if the fire in this story or analogy is the um, love, is that emergent love, what are those elements? Because I'm a clinician, I can't just sit and have philosophical outbursts like this and then people, will follow. They really want practical steps. So, woman, you're telling me emergent love. How does that look like? How does that feel like? What does it take for me to create it? So then came the research with the 312 couples and actual couples, the average relationship 10 years, not just convenient sampling of going and talk to anybody who was present for us. Because majority of the research that you read about relationships in high scales, larger scales, majority of it, not all of it, is usually with college students. And I love college students. I work with them all the time, but they really don't have enough experiences to tell us what are the thriving relationships that feel like, look like. And yeah, so that was the 312 couples that I individually work with for at least a year. And then I teamed up with my husband, Dr. Pejman Azarmina. And then we did some other research with more than 340 representation of US couples, meaning that representation of educational level, race, sexual and relational orientations. So we wanted to see not why people fail in coupledom, and failure is not just divorce, right? Or separation, because that could be a part of the journey for many people. But when you ask a person in a couple of them, are you thriving? They're like, yeah, I have a peace of mind, clarity of mind, peace of heart. That's what I'm talking about, right? So you're not double guessing yourself, the other person, and you're not having FOMO that somebody else might be better for me. So all that.
And
The result was, yes.
yes, I wanted to ask if I can we can get in right away to these ingredients,
Six
if that
ingredients.
that's
Yes.
possible.
Yes,
So,
yes,
because
okay.
I wanted to let you know that when I was reading the book Love by Design, I was very struck by what you said, that it's not that we are attracting other people just because we're attractive people, but we are attracted to them too. By us having an interest in attraction towards somebody, that makes us also attractive to them. That really struck me. Tell us about how couples, obviously when you're first in love, it's quite normal because both parties are very attracted. But in Love by Design, you're able to actually build the attraction by taking concrete steps. Tell us about that, and if possible, this story of Maria and Ed.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. I'm very impressed that you read it line by line, by the way. That's very wonderful. So I want to follow the trajectory of your relationships and see, how they come to be after reading this. So the six ingredients to begin with, and all of them need to be reciprocal, are attraction, shared attraction, and physical attraction is a big component of it as well. So the research shows, our research showed that the significance relevance between the outcome of a relationship and the physical attraction of the couple. So physical attraction matters, and different sides of attraction as well. Financial, social, intellectual. Intellectual is a big one these days for many people. So all of those matter. The problem is people get together based on desire. Desire is not renewable. even physiologically is not renewable, but attraction is. Because as life goes on, into me, I see what am I made of today? What is important to me? What are my values? What do I connect with? Based on identity, roles, everything that are it is going on in my life. And then into me, I invite you to see. Into me, you see. So if the attraction translates into intimacy, into me, I see, into me, you see, then it's a renewable energy because we change every day. So there's no boredom in this scenario, right? So that's one piece, the attraction. Why do you want to be around each other? The second one, and then the idea of Maria and Ed. So, for example, in the case of Maria and Ed, these are made up names, by the way. So, combination of multiple people. And just to make the point, basically, the idea is Maria was 65, very successful, wonderful woman, and come to terms with herself, financially secure, all of that. And then Ed walked around the house and said, "Oh, you're so sexy, you're so hot, you're so sexy, you're so hot." It meant nothing to Maria at that point. For Maria at that point, it would have meant a lot more to say that, I really like the way that you came to the woman to be. I really like the type of grandmother that you are. So the roles that she was connecting with. And then it said, actually, I would like for her to tell me that I'm hot and sexy because that's what I want to be. That's what I lost over the years. So then that brings us to this whole idea of the golden rule and platinum rule. Golden rule is do to others as you want to be done to you. Many of us do that, hopefully do that, right? But the elevated and more mature way to be in a relationship is to abide by platinum rule, to do to others as they ask you to do to them, what matters to them. So that is the piece that needs to be there. So when couples come to me and say we are not attracted to each other anymore, in a way, they stopped liking each other, liking to be around each other, stopped knowing themselves and the other person. So that's renewability is not there. So that's attraction, newly defined. And then the second one would be should I go on?
Yeah, yes, yes. Tell me a little bit. I'd like this designing respect. This is one of my favorite chapters, especially because of the story of Mo and Julia. And I just
Yes.
like to say it's, you say in the book, do you ever, when you're in the parking lot with your partner, are you 10 steps in front of them? Are you leaving the car already while they're trying to follow you behind? And that we kind of lose this treating that person like royalty. We wouldn't do that if we had some kind of, I don't know, special official, we were diplomats or something. We would be really respectful. We lose that in the couple. Tell us about building respect.
Mhm. So respect as a word means to see and to see again. So if you really go back to the root of the word, if you stop seeing each other, having regards for one another, considering the other person's boundaries, and very important part of it, considering your own boundaries, walking all over yourself, then that's not a very respectful relationship that you might have. And it's really interesting. When I was introducing the ingredients, respect, attraction, shared vision, compassion, when I was looking at people, people looked at me as if, wow, we've heard that. We've heard those before. But the way that we define them through concrete research, they're different. Language is limited, so I couldn't really replace respect with something else. But I would love for people to walk away with a new definition. So, for example, in this case that you are talking about, Natalie and Joshua, Natalie and Joshua were the representation of many couples that in the pandemic, they ended up working together, living, under the same roof, all of that. And then Joshua, because he was separated from his friends, the only way that he could connect with his friends was through video games. So he would just go to the living room right after work and then started playing this video game. Although the headphones on, although he thought that he was respectful enough because he's doing his own thing, but from Natalie's perspective, Natalie found it very offensive that he would, first of all, take over the whole living room and TV for a period of time that he was playing the game. The second one was the game was violent and both vulgar language were used and also a lot of shooting involved, whatnot. That was quite a lot for Natalie. And she kept saying that, look, although you have a headphone and you are just swearing at your friends, but because it's in the shared space, I am impacted by it. But Joshua couldn't see it because he said, well, but I'm not directing it at you. So the example that I gave them was if you have a glass of milk, it's white, right? Just to start adding, and milk is a representation of your common shared space in the coupledom. If you start dripping just a drop of color, one drop at a time, the swearing, the foul language, even if it's not directed at the person, but it's happening in the shared space, then the whole thing starts changing color, right? So in that way, the issue for this couple specifically was that Joshua then after the game and everything wanted that intimacy and connection and having sex later at night. And then Natalie said, really, are you kidding me? You were just a 12-year-old gaming and swearing and with that vulgar language, and now you want to be treated as this equitable sexual partner, loving partner. I can't see you that way. So that comes down to respect. So if you are not respecting me or the shared space, how do I respect you? On the other side of it, I asked Joshua that if you respect Natalie, and he said absolutely yes. He could see the point as he's kind of polluting the shared space, but still he couldn't see how he is making himself less respectable by Natalie by doing that, by projecting that behavior from himself in front of him. Like, for example, I ask my couples when they come to me, they say, oh, my partner doesn't respect me. And I ask them, point blank, are you respectable? Like, well, what do you mean? Are you able to communicate your boundaries lovingly and firmly? Or are you passive aggressive? Are you walking all over yourself before somebody else even does? So, these are all, there's so many things going on into respect that, I'm just condensing one chapter into these, few minutes, but you get the point.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Are there any questions, any comments? Would anyone like to jump in and say anything? Please don't be shy. You can think about that. Then we'll go on to the next one, designing trust. So you talk a
Mhm.
lot about finances and you say, wow, if someone hasn't been paying a bill for months and tells you they've paid that bill, and then you find out it hasn't been paid, it's tough to have to continue building something with that person.
Yes, absolutely. That's actually one of the very good examples. So trust is again multifaceted. When I talk about trust, many people ask me who slept with whom. But that's not what trust is all about. Trust is all about reliability, consistency, doing what you said you would do in a consistent basis. So the person knows that if this ball is dropping, I can actually trust that my partner comes and holds it. We have social trust, we have financial trust, we have the example that you mentioned. For example, I had a couple that they came to me and the woman said she didn't pay the rent for a couple of months and they actually forgot. She forgot. But every time that the husband said, hon, are you on it? Oh, yeah, got it. And then it got to the point that police showed up at the door. And the guy was from the Middle East. And you know how, people from certain nationalities are being treated, unfortunately. So the police comes to the door and then everything is very civil. The police is very, very polite and everything is handled. They pay the bills and everything is done. But he was asking for divorce. That's why they came to me. And she couldn't understand why. And then, so as we are having a conversation, she said, what's a big deal? She was a white woman, um, had that privilege in this, scenario. And he said, look, I studied so hard. I'm from Afghan background. I came to this country as an immigrant. I studied to become a doctor, so nobody can actually tell me what to do and have the respect of people, although I'm a Middle Eastern man and I'm Many people have their own presumptions about us, but I really jumped so many hurdles to get to here. For police to show up at my door, that is not okay. Or, for example, another client that the car registration was not renewed. So they are, and it brings up a lot for those people. And as soon as I brought this up to this gentleman in my office, I said, look, if you were of different nationality, different race, would you be sitting here asking for divorce? He said no, and he started sobbing. He said, look, she doesn't understand when I tell her this stake is much higher for me. So there are different nuances in different stories that we have. The trust could be broken for one person, and the other person will go, "Oh, what's the big deal?" Or as simple as a lot of couples have their own intimate moment, they share something. And then tomorrow at dinner table, one of them shares whatever that was told in that sacred space between them. So that's bridging that trust in the coupledom, right? So a lot of couples don't have an understanding what is private, what is secret, individually as well as for the couple. What remains in the bubble, what can be shared with your mother, with your sister, with our friends, with our children. So trust again has multifaceted perspective attached to it, rather than just having an affair, sexual affair, or whatnot. So the inconsistency and reliability, big pieces for trust.
Let's
And then
let's go on to designing shared vision. This was a tough one for me to understand. You mentioned in the simplest terms, do you want to live in an apartment in Chicago or have your own farm animals in Vermont? Tell us, what is designing shared vision? I believe Hunter and Rory are a great story.
yes, yes, and believe it or not, I have people who come to me and say, "Can you make this work for us?" And I want to. I wish I was God. I wish I could. I can't. So they come, one of them wants to really, I had that example. One person wanted to live in this high rise in the middle of a big city. And then the other person wanted to have a farm with 11 kids and chicken and all of that. So, how are they going to make this work? And I told them, I said, look, I've seen it all. You could make it work if you are really committed to the parameters of this relationship. Let's say, for example, maybe you stay there, make the babies, stay in the farm, and have that life. And then for the other person, living in the high rise and then come visit you. If that is the life that you envision, wonderful, go for it. But I can't make it work. How am I even? You see, even the question doesn't have merit in it. So how can I make this work? Or another person, when I'm asking them, what do you want? What is your biggest identity? They say a mom. I want to be a mom. I love to be a mom. And then they are with a partner who is this high achiever and wants to be the biggest lawyer in the world. Or I had another one, biggest politician in this country wanted to become. And then the other person wanted to do that. And then clearly, as they were having conversations, they didn't have anything in common rather than being in love with each other, which meant that they had really hot sex, but really nothing else in common. And hot sex will fizzle out over time. Then what? What are you left with? They couldn't even hold a conversation intellectually with each other. And so one person had a value of nesting and creating a beautiful family. The other person was very much self-focused and wanted to give back to the world in that from that route of becoming a, for example, politician or that high powered lawyer. And that works for many people. Both of them are very satisfied in their roles, in the relationship. But in this relationship, uh, the person who wanted to become that high powering person wanted this person to be present for all the events, to be the partner, intellectual partner. And this person had no interest. So we can't really force that. We can't bring apple and orange together and say, make babies together. It's just very difficult to do that. What was that metaphor I brought? Okay, but you see the point. It's it's just difficult, It's just difficult to, some people actually put them together both in the blender, make a beautiful juice. I've seen it work, wonderful. But as long as you know what you're committing to, and another point about shared vision. So I always tell my couples that differentiate between negotiation, compromise, and sacrifice. Negotiation is a fact of life. You need to be able to say, hey, do we have Chinese tonight or Indian? Do we have, like, who is picking up the kid? So negotiation is a fact of life. Do it. All you want, wonderful. In an equitable relationship, you should be able to do that. Compromise also, it's wonderful. So you come, everybody exactly knows what you give, what you get. And there's no secret here. With sacrifice, however, sometimes we sacrifice with the hope that we are being repaid later, and that doesn't come majority of times. And then when things go south. Yeah. So we need to really make sure that we know our own vision for life, the coupledom's vision for life. And at least if we don't have one, we are open to have the negotiation. And it has different angles to it. Where you live, financial status that you're aiming for, the way you save, the way you spend money, financial attitude has a big, big role here. And then who are you going to mingle with? Which holidays or rituals are you going to celebrate? Who is going to be around you as you go through life? Are you going to have kids or not? And just let's set the record straight here. Some people do change their minds for whatever reason. Many people don't. So many of my couples come to me and say, after 11 years, I'm just realizing that she's not going to change. Like, okay, it only took 11 years for you to see that the person who from the get-go told you, I don't want children. I do not want children. What made you think that this is going to change when you wanted children 100%? She said, I don't want children like 100%. At least if it was like, I want children 50%, I want children 30%, maybe you could have had some leg room, like, here, but not really. So, or the person who didn't want to do something, live somewhere, leave the family behind, immigrate, or have children, whatever that the decision, big decision is, they sacrifice at the beginning of the relationship, come to resenting the other person and themselves and the relationship later. So please be aware of shared vision needs to be something that you're consciously going towards. It has multiple facets, and also be aware of the negotiation, compromise, or sacrifice.
And because you mentioned the word sex, I believe that's quite a buzzword today. And so I wanted to ask you about the what happens then if the sexual attraction is big and those people continue, the politician and the woman who wants to, the person who wants to live on a farm. What happens then eventually if they stay together?
I don't know about that couple because they actually eventually decided to separate because um, di the divergence was a little too big. So in the book, I'm talking about the 8 ways that people come together and call themselves couples. Friends with benefit, get in where you fit in, constitutional couple, emergent love couple, contemporary couple, all those models. One of the things that I've seen work in those couples that they really don't have a vision to build something together, but there are aspects that are overlapping, but not. So those people could remain friends with benefit. The benefit could be sex. The benefit could be raising children together, but nothing else in common. It could be, I've actually had people who donated eggs or sperm for that purpose, those purposes, or they could stay each other's person. So they have the emotional support of that person, but they don't share anything else. They have their own lives, their own groups, or even mates for life. So yeah, there are so many different ways that people make it work.
Incredible. Are there any questions now? Would anyone like to say anything? Dr. Davis would. Hi, Dr. Davis.
I think he's muted.
I think I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
Hi, Dr. Davis.
Yes, yes. Hello.
Right, right. Wonderful talk. Excellent. Have
Lovely.
you ever thought of giving you a course on this in high school so
I
that all
would.
wouldn't that be something to help the high divorce rate that's in the United States and
Mm,
probably in Western Europe? I think your talk is wonderful. I mean,
thank you.
I'm an old character. Sim knows I'm 92 years old, and I still
Lovely.
like. I think you should, wherever you live, go to the high school and suggest a course, and
Hmm.
maybe a lot of kids would take it, and that would avoid complications in their life
Later on.
and their kids' lives later on. But keep up
I
the good
com
work.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I completely agree with you. One thing is the relational literacy, and the other one is the relational fluency. One of the main reasons that I actually brought all of it together, I do a lot of trainings for colleagues, and I do a lot of talks on social media, and with the hope to change the discourse around love, the way we define it, the way that we experience it, express it. And my hope is okay, I'm going to share this with you. So my hope is my own son comes to me and says, Mom, thank you for this. Because now I don't think marriage is a watermelon. So I have a path forward. So not to leave the world the way that I found it. Yes, I think it's an amazing idea to raise literacy wherever we can.
I'm going to give this idea to all my children. I do have a bunch of them, that they should expose their children to these ideas and think about it
Lovely.
before they get caught in a marriage that is doomed to fall apart.
Yes. And also, the falling apart is one thing with marriage, but also a lot of people stay in marriages and they suffer inside, they're dead inside, and it can change. That's the thing. It can change. We have science to back it up if they want to. So that's one thing. The other thing that I learned throughout all of this work, I do quite a bit of work with the United Nations and various companies. And one thing that I'm learning is all of these six ingredients are exactly applicable in any other relationship, friendship, parenthood, anything. Like, for example, the way that I'm teaching my son about respect, compassion, about shared vision or his own vision is the same exact principle. And then, the way we do one relationship is the way we do all relationships. So if we really master these six ingredients, I truly believe that the world peace is possible. Forget about marriages. Like, world peace is possible because we know how to relate with one another in a
Good
more
luck.
humane way.
Thanks,
Good
Doc.
luck. thank,
Thanks.
thank you,
Thank
Sid.
you.
Thank
Thanks.
you, Dr. Sarah. I'm not going to try and pronounce your family name.
No, sure. Nasserzadeh, yeah, it's a long one with lots of consonants.
Is that Egyptian background?
Persian, Iranian.
Persian, Iranian?
Thanks,
I
Dr.
wish I could
Davis.
speak. Yeah, you're welcome.
Uh,
Thank
s-
you.
please keep thinking if you have any questions. If anyone else would like to jump in and ask a question, we're going towards the end of the show. The last two are designing compassion and designing loving behaviors. This is kind of a very poignant part in the book where it's clear, it's very emotional. It's really, as I could hear you saying the world peace thing even while I was reading the book. This is really about human relations. Tell us about designing compassion and loving behaviors.
Sure. The bottom line is lovely people. We don't need more empathy in the world. We need compassion. Empathy means feeling with the person, and compassion is feeling for the person. When we are feeling with the person, we lose the capacity to be there with them because neurophysiologically speaking, you're resonating with the other person. So if you're happy, wonderful, I'm happy. But what if you're sad, you're angry, you're mad, you're frustrated? Then I get to be that as well. And then who is going to help whom? So that's actually one of the things that I teach a lot for therapists and psychologists, people in service industries, that is really important to operate from the point of compassion rather than empathy. I give you an example. Couples come to me. One of them is really, really frustrated, come through the door, like really, oh, my mother said that. No, 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 no. And then the other person said, oh my God, damn your mother. As if they are more angry than the person. So they come and steal the situation, steal the emotion, feeling with the other person to the point that the other person ends up, honey, are you okay? Calm down. It's okay. It's okay. So there's no room for the first person who actually came with the original idea or emotion to feel anything. So I tell my couples often that if I'm bleeding and you start bleeding with me, who is going to get the band-aid? So really think about it. And if empathy is like this, feeling with the other person, compassion is this. I know where I end, where you begin, to be there for you without making it about me. So that's compassion. That is huge for couples, huge. Actually, anyone. Like, have you seen mothers who go to their children, the child falls, and instead of being there for the child, they're like, oh my God, you had a fall, starting blaming the child and falling apart in front of the child. Who is going to help the poor child? So that over empathizing, that's not a good idea. And last but not least is the loving behavior. Loving behavior, we can't just say, I love you, I'm in love with you, whatever, and with no manifestation. Manifestation of love is giving benefit of the doubt, going out of your way for the other person, making them feel special and celebrated, making them feel like there's nobody else in that moment in time, having your own full presence, remembering what they like, what they dislike. Those are all loving behaviors that we can manifest, and be tender with our touch, with our words. Like, I'll give you an example. Couples come to me, you know how I do Zoom these days? So we're not in the office as much. And then one time I actually called it out because my couples, loving couple, lovely couple, they're talking to each other and they say, oh, hon, da 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 da, the rest of the conversation. And then the chihuahua came, the dog came, and then the woman said, Han, like, oh my God. So the dog is Han, the child is Han, the husband is Han. I'm assuming the mother and sister and everybody else is Han. So what is reserved for that coupledom? What is that nickname? What is that name? What is that? How do you address each other that's very specific to you, exclusive to you? Even for couples who are in multitude of coupledom, like they are in polyamorous relationship, they need to have that dyad very specifically defined and nurtured to be able to even, branch out to other spots rather than bringing somebody else to fix this, whether it's a pet, child, in-law, another person. So yeah, that's it, lovely ones.
Wow.
That's love by design, emergent love.
Wow. Final question then. What do you wish all of us the next time we hear the word love?
I want you to please know that having a thriving, loving relationship is not rare. It's not just limited to lucky few. Everyone desires love and deserves to be in a loving relationship that they desire. Know that. And don't let anybody else convince you otherwise. Please.
Let's see how we can stay in touch with Dr. Sara. It's very easy. It is Sara-Nasserzadeh. I'll put this in the chat room right now. So it is sarah-nasserzadeh.com. Sara, if we have any questions, can we reach out to you?
Sure.
So just click on contact, and Dr. Sara is there to hear your thoughts, answer your questions. Now, you have also a newsletter, is that right?
Yes, it actually one just went out. So every month I have a newsletter that goes out, and it's just for everybody to deepen their understandings of relationships, all sorts of relationships.
Wonderful. So that's join the community. You just go to subscribe here and click, and then you can sign up for the newsletter. And then to buy the book, there we see it right there. Love by Design, 6 ingredients to build a lifetime of love. Just click on order today and it'll bring you right there. There you can get it for $12.98. That's on Amazon. So please do check out Sara-Nasserzadeh.com. And Sarah looks forward to hearing from you. Thank you so very much to Dr. Sara Nasserzadeh.
Yeah. Thank you so much to you, Simeon, and all the lovely individuals and souls that were here. Thank you for being here.
And I'd like, before we go, to take a look at viennalive.com and let you know at www.simeonmore.com, excuse me, that is the website of Vienna Live. We have a sponsorship campaign going on right now. You can click on become a sponsor for $5 a month, and you will receive one Vienna Live Celebrates 5 Years mug. For $10 monthly, you will receive a Vienna Live Celebrates 5 Years mug and a Vienna Live City tote bag. You can also choose any sponsorship amount you would like. There is no minimum sponsorship, and click on one-time payment, custom. And up next week, we have Emma Smith, Bitter Orange. Celebrated jazz vocalist Emma Smith, already a musical force with a devoted and ever-growing following in the UK and European markets, embarks on captivating the US fans with her forthcoming album, Bitter Orange, on Reserve Records. Known for her virtuosic chops and signature vivacious shows, Smith, who is a multi-million stream artist, is the first UK artist to join the label's roster and brings a lifetime of stories to these shores. Let's get to know the story of a self-making woman trying to be heard and make an impact. Again, that's Emma Smith, Bitter Orange, next Wednesday. And all information about upcoming shows may be found at www.simeonmore.com. Once again, thank you so very much to Dr. Sara Nasserzadeh. Thank you to our sponsors, our corporate and individual sponsors. Your ongoing support allows Vienna Live to operate as a free public service. Thanks to my cousin Mike, a marketer from Layer App. If you're an architect or an engineer, they have a really cool tool you should check out. Thanks most of all to you, our participants, who make it all worthwhile, from New London, New Hampshire, and Los Angeles, California. Goodbye, and see you next Wednesday.